Hello! Today I'm going to show you how to sculpt Rafflesia Arnoldii. It's a carnivorous plant that is found in Indonesia, and it is part of my artwork on the Indonesian Deforestation. As you might or might not know, the Indonesian rainforests have experienced a loss of 50% in just 50 years, which is, well, huge really. And it's mostly due to agriculture and corruption and the palm oil industry. So this is something I talked about before, and I've been criticized for using polymer clay, which is something I always find a little sad, that people expect you to be perfect when you talk about serious issues like rainforest deforestation or our overconsumption of meat or the consumption society as it is, and people who encourage others or try to inspire others to reduce, reuse and recycle more, and just to implement small steps that are not so difficult in everyone's lives. And I always find it sad that instead of listening to the message, the speaker, actor or artist is criticized for not being perfect. Because no, I'm not perfect. I will never be perfect because I am human and I live in a modern society. And I use a smartphone and a computer and a fridge. And yes, it's selfish of me and I enjoy modern society as it is. But on the other hand, I'm also doing a lot easy things that can be implemented. I don't use any facial cream, I just use olive oil for my skin, for instance. I cook a lot from scratch myself. I do my own almond milk, I cook vegan at home. All those little things that I've changed over the years and that have been so much a part of my own life that of course I want to share and inspire others to change. I want to teach what I've learned over the years, even though I'm not perfect, even though I don't even consider myself vegan, for instance, because when I go out with friends, I let myself the freedom to eat vegetarian or even fish or sometimes even meat if there's no other choice or if I just really want to. So I'm not trying to tell you or to preach what you should do. I just want to show what is not working in our world right now, question things we do. Humans are extremely wasteful in general in Western societies. I find it sad that instead of trying to learn more about the issues at stake, some people go defensive and criticize me for, again, not being perfect. So I know it's a bit rambling and it probably sounds rather uninteresting to you if you are not very much into the environment. I know many people who are not as dedicated as I am in my own life, friends or family. They often look at me and tell me that I already do a lot, and that I probably should not cry because I use polymer clay and I love it. And it's bad because it's made of PVC. And they're right. I think humans need to be selfish to some extent for their own sake and happiness and satisfaction. But I also think that we all need to make tiny efforts, tiny everyday efforts to make our world a better place. This is something I very often struggle with, because on one side I know it's not good for the environment, but on the other side I really enjoy using polymer clay or different things. Art materials in general have a negative impact on the world unless you use only leaves, twigs and pebbles or whatnot to make art. But the moment you want to share your art with the world, make a living from it by recording it or making a photography of it, then you will have a negative impact on the earth, because you need a lot of resources to create a smartphone or a camera or a computer, etc. It is pointless to fall into self-loathing because you are not perfect, but it makes sense to try and make tiny steps towards that goal, even though the goal itself is unattainable. The idea is to keep a certain balance in your life, as in try to do your best according to your own ethics. Don't be afraid to question your own ethics and habits when you learn new information. And also don't forget yourself and your own sanity. If I can take another example, my mom, she's been trying to go vegan for quite some time, but she really loves cheese. She's French, so it makes sense, and I do understand it. And so she's been really frustrated about it, and she's gained some weight over the last year because she was so lost and she didn't know what to eat anymore. And then she hated herself for eating cheese once in a while, and then she would punish herself by eating junk. So it was a really bad spiral for her. And when I saw her at Christmas, I told her it's okay to eat cheese once in a while if you really like it. It's not that which is bad. It's just altogether, if you look at the bigger picture of your life, to make choices that are better for the world and the environment and your health, etc. But you cannot forget your own person, because if you don't leave some freedom, if you don't leave some room for mistakes and temptations or a bit of selfishness, then you cannot sustain this way of living. You cannot go on with your life if you say no to everything you love. Which is also why I don't think people who love meat should get rid of it or stop from one day or another, but rather consume less of it, and maybe one day they might stop it altogether, or maybe not. But it's more the first step, the tiny steps that matter, than being very strict about one's life. And since this is something I'm struggling with on a personal basis very often, I have to remind it to myself also very often. And I think it's also why I wanted to talk about it. The idea that it's okay if you're not perfect, but at least try. At least try to do your best. And that is all that truly matters, to make the right decisions most of the time, and to leave some room for mistakes, whatever it is that you feel you're selfish about. For some people it will be meat or cheese. For me it's polymer clay and art. I would say for most artists it's art supplies, and that's okay. You still have to live, you still have to make a living, you still have to feel some joy and happiness. It's not about being strict about yourself all the time. Selfishness is not bad if it's just a bit, if that makes sense. As for polymer clay, more precisely, I know some people told me, well, you could use earthen clay or air dry clay. It is only partially correct. I will try to work with air dry clay on certain projects, and I found a ceramist here around where I live who teaches how to use earthen clay. I intend, of course, to try those two mediums out, but polymer clay is very peculiar. It's a very versatile art material for one, and it's also very durable, which is also why it's so bad for the environment. But for art, it makes sense that you want art materials that last for a long time, because if you do art, it has to last for at least 100 years because you are selling it. You cannot expect your customers to get something and it deteriorates in just a few years, which is a true problem with air dry clay. Because if it's not sealed correctly, it's going to disintegrate from humidity and water, at least most of it. So this is something that I don't really want to work with on artwork basis. And earthen clay is just a bit complicated because I don't have a kiln and I do not want to buy one. And I know it all sounds like justifications, and in a sense they are, and I'm also perfectly aware that talking about struggles, the right decisions and balance in life and selfishness on YouTube is an open door to criticism, and I expect I might get insulted for that, and I hope not. I really hope not, because I always find it sad when people come in and they don't know anything about you and they insult you. Well, that's about it, I guess. A few of you have been asking to hear my voice a little bit more, so it might not be what you expected because it was very heavy talk, I guess. But this is me, and these are my personal interrogations on an almost daily basis, and I tend to be depressive, so it gets to me. I'm really emotional. So I wanted to share this part of me as well, because I think YouTube is also for that raw honesty. That's what makes it more interesting, to get to know people on a more personal basis. If against all odds you like this video and my rambling, please give it a like and maybe subscribe. I don't often do those rambling videos, but I might from time to time. And if you want to help me out a little bit more, I have a Patreon account which I rarely promote, but since this year I stopped the artisan part of my work to focus on YouTube and my artwork, I'm a bit in need of money, which is ridiculous, but it's still true. And even though I hope that I'll be better in a few months, if you can help me out, even if it's just with $1, I would be very grateful for it. And thank you so much for watching and listening, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!